Welcome to Arts Portfolio Night, South Orange Maplewood Schools. We're really glad we can host this kind of event. A lot of people have been doing curriculum night, but I thought it was important discussions with guidance to do a portfolio night to help everyone prepare students for these college portfolios in the arts. Um, the purpose really was to give you an overview, parents and students, of how to get these different content areas for arts um, ready in terms of what you need to have in your portfolio and hear from some experts. And we have some wonderful experts here tonight on our panel. We have Anna Shukilo. Did I say it right, Anna? Shukilo?
Yes, close enough.
From Kean University, she's in the Fine Arts Department. Ms. Holly Evans, a professor at Pace University in the Dance Department. She's also a SOMA community member. And Mr. Howard Liboff, who is the professor and the film chair over at Fairleigh Dickinson University. Thank you so much, panelists, for joining us tonight and be part of this event. We really appreciate your time. We really appreciate your expertise. I wanted to just start off with music, but I think this first piece kind of translates to other content areas. I wanted to talk about a definition. In terms of a high school music portfolio is a collection of work that demonstrates the student's musical talent and experience, and it can usually include recordings and videos and written work. And so I think just in general, some of those concepts translate to all the arts content areas. Is everybody okay? Thumbs up. You can see my screen. The PowerPoint's coming through okay? Thank you. But what's the why? Why we do these kinds of things? Well, the portfolio does help showcase your students' talent and experience. And many colleges these days, right, do require a portfolio for admission to their music program and other art programs. And then finally, the portfolio gives you an opportunity to stand out in this application process. I designed this next slide to kind of talk about, in terms of thinking about your journey. Here, we talk about your musical journey, but what is your journey in that art content area? What does your music experience look like chronologically? And what was your teachers like? Who were your teachers? What were your lessons like? When did you start? And the reason I did this is this. I take staff members to different universities and colleges, and we go and we observe classrooms. And in those observations of classrooms, the idea is to see what college professors are doing, what they're doing curricularly in their classes, so that we can look at that as a high school or as a district and say, cool, we want to kind of scaffold our curriculum to target those different areas and kind of reach those peaks in what's going on in the universities and colleges. And one of the visits I took staff to, we observed drama and dance and music at Juilliard. And at lunchtime, Juilliard brought in their admissions office. And we were sitting with other professors that we had observed that day and networking and talking. But the admissions office put on this incredible slideshow of what it looks like for a student to prepare themselves from elementary school to high school to actually get into Juilliard. And it included things like you see in the orange and red areas where what were the students doing, beyond the school day? What were their in-school music classes like? What were their lessons? Who were their teachers? What were they doing in the summer? Were they at Aspen? Were they at Interlochen? What were the awards and recitals? And you really got a great sense for dance and music and drama, what students would do from middle school, and even if someone was very involved in music in elementary school, through high school, to take this kind of track to Juilliard. And it was very impressive, and it really left an impression on me in terms of how you showcase yourself, in terms of your journey in that art form that you're on a pathway to. A lot of kids these days and young people are approaching music as a technology or music production or pop music. And so we talk about the electronic press kit as an opportunity to highlight what you're doing. And I have a sample here in the slide of a student's electronic press kit. Did the slide change? Or are you able to see that? Great. So she very simply has three film clips that she scored, compositions, right? And then she goes on to show her discography on Spotify. And then she has two music videos on YouTube that she highlights on her website. Now, this website, again, being her website that she designed as an EPK, right? Then she has kind of two commercials that she created highlighting Splice for Women's History Month and Manifest Audio. And you kind of get a sense on her doing like a product placement or product promotions segments. Then she has like a jingle where she kind of scored this kind of cooking episode, Eat Okra. And then she gives you an end-to-end production look at her editing abilities, her mixing abilities, and her sound design abilities with 8 different podcasts that she worked on from start to finish. So there you get just a really good quick look at what we're talking about in terms of developing this EPK. All right. I'll be managing the chat once I finish. So if parents and people watching have any questions, throw them in the chat and we'll take a look at that. The next slide shows very specific portfolio requirements because each college or university will have something very specific. And so if you clicked on this link, you would go to Steinhardt's Music Tech application, and then you would see, right, very specific pieces of things that they're looking for. Now, that's not to say that many of these aspects here will be universal. You want to see audio, video, notation, writings, photos, bios, press kit, contact information. But on the left side, each college or university does have its own unique requirements. And so you have to be astute to what those are. And then the caveat I put at the bottom paragraph is always right. Do not rush it. Take your time. Plan plenty of time for revision, for adding new things, for thinking about what looks good, how you stand out, and compare yourself to other EPKs or other portfolios that you see online that students are posting. And one other thought is that generally for music performance, you don't get an opportunity to edit. They'd like to see your complete performance from beginning to end without any edits. So just be aware of that. That's usually prohibited when you're making your video, your audio recordings for your college portfolio. This is just some quick tips again on how to get those portfolios together. Be conscientious of the time that the university or the college is asking in terms of the allotment. Don't go past it. Think about the genres that you'll be responsible for. Usually like contrasting pieces. Oh, sorry about that. Any lighting. It's always nice to watch a pleasant video with the right light than to strain and try to hear something or see something. The submission format's important again, and then your contact information. And so take time to put that together and prepare properly. Get familiar with your setting, get familiar with the way the sound is being captured in your setting, that it's not too ambient, and you're getting some clarity on that. And then I put here for everyone just some links in terms of where you can build your music portfolio online if you want to do this electronic press kit or electronic portfolio. Between Adobe Portfolio and Wix and ShareSpace and Linktree and Google Dropbox. So those resources are available for you in the slideshow. And that ends my portion. So let's switch over to another person. Anna, I think you're up. You ready for?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Fantastic.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. I do have a presentation. It is a presentation that is specific to Keene University. I'm a foundations professor, so I teach pretty much almost all freshmen who come in. I do review portfolios. I also work with graduate students, so I kind of cover Everything. We also have art education. So I will mention that as well in my presentation. If anybody is interested in that, that is a BA in Fine Arts with a certificate, with a teaching certificate and clinical addition to the program. I will also mention, and James, you have mentioned a few things that are coming from, different sources. I will also mention, and this is not just related to Keene National Portfolio Day, um, for artists coming into an art program, this is for high school students. This is meant for high school students. We review Keene as one of the participants. There are many, many schools from around the nation who participate in these. And you have an opportunity to come in and show your portfolio into basically all these schools. So there are representatives. There's some send faculty. We send faculty, and some send admissions counselors. So it is a mix, bag of representatives from the schools, but it's a great way to learn about the programs and also get some feedback on your portfolio. So let me start with my screen. No, entire screen. I will share my entire screen. 1 second. It is thinking. Is anything popping up?
I just made sure that your co-host privilege is open.
I see it. Now, well, it popped up on the screen, but it's connecting and spinning. So give it a moment. Maybe my entire screen has too many tabs open and it's being judgmental. Let me try that again, because you did just make me a co-host. So I can try a window. Let me try a window. Maybe that, yes. Now, well, did it work? Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay, great. And you can see the BA Fine Art, correct?
100%.
Perfect. Okay, so we offer at Keene University, and I can really speak more to our program. I would say this is fairly, it varies, but you're going to see certain kind of a continuity from one program to another, because New Jersey, for example, does have a standard of degrees being 120 credits total. So BA in Fine Art does not require portfolio. It is great for students who are thinking of either doing a minor or a second major. It allows you to do a concentration, such as traditional media, craft media, or digital media. But and also all the pictures up top are actually from our students working. So this is material from our studios. You do get 42 credits in your major, but you also get a lot of 27 to 28 credits in free electives, and that is where it can be applied to a different major, or it can be applied to a minor within the degree. Another benefit of entering a BA, for example, and a lot of times BA will not require a portfolio, is because you may not have had a chance to develop your portfolio. That doesn't mean everything is lost. That means you can start in BA and then transfer within the university to the BFA portfolio. I just had last week 2 students submit portfolios that they really made stronger in their classes, and they have just moved on to the BFA program instead of the BA. The difference is a little bit, well, it's mostly within credits within the major. It is 75 credits versus the 40 some credits in the major. And we do require a portfolio for the BFA. The portfolio does require some form of a concentration. We kind of are looking for variety within the portfolio, but also a little, like, let's say 5 drawings, 5 paintings, 5 sculptures. We're not looking to have one ceramic piece, one random installation piece, one drawing, one something. We want kind of to see these small bodies of work starting to develop in your high school career. Um, we do offer various concentration within the BFA. It's a little bit broader than the BA. You can concentrate within painting, drawing, illustration, printmaking. We have book arts, we have paper making, furniture, woodworking, ceramics, metals, jewelry, digital media, and photography. We do have a dark room, so that is one of the things that also, I don't know if Maplewood High School has a dark room, but I know some high schools still do. So that is one thing that, high school students can continue working on. A more traditional, um, kind of take on photography. We do look for a portfolio of 15 to 20 pieces. Now, one thing I say to most of my students, and I did put some examples, um, and this says 10 to 15. We really are looking for 15 to 20. You can follow, if you're curious, you can follow the link within our um, within our what is it called, the slide room application. So we would accept as little as 10. We are really looking for 15 to 20. That is to show us the breadth of your work. So how diverse is your work, but also multiple examples of each concentration. We are really looking for observational drawing. Everything starts with drawing. If you have strong drawing skills, it shows us that we can teach you almost anything. We even accept sketches. Sketches should be, the definition of a sketch can be fairly broad. We do look for more complete sketches versus, the 5-second sketches. But if you, for example, took a figure drawing and that drawing is maybe an hour, you could consider it a sketch, but it is a good addition to the portfolio. And we do look for works in color, sculpture. You can, but that is kind of building on to the portfolio. So let's say you are a sculptor or you are an illustrator, we would still be looking for those observational drawings and observational paintings. We do have a GPA minimum. That is true for the BFA, not for the BA. So let's say you're entering with a slightly lower GPA. That is okay. You can raise it and enter the BFA program later with a higher GPA. That is general across, I would say, most universities. They are looking for at least a 3.0 GPA for these more demanding degrees. Obviously, official transcript, 2 letters of recommendation. That is just something that you can CV, resume, pay personal statement. These are the things you can expect, let's say, in addition to the Common App. So you do submit your transcripts via Common App, but there will be a separate statement that would be an addition for the BFA. That is also true for art education. I mentioned art education. Art education does also require portfolio, and it does require 3.0 GPA minimum, as well as a separate personal statement. These are some examples of student work. You can expect that kind of work from a BFA student. These are actually assignments from the classroom. So this gives you somewhat of an idea of at least some of the things we're expecting in the BFA portfolio. These are also examples of student work. So you can see photography examples, also metals, ceramics, drawing. We do have for the BFA, we have a final show that is part of your tenure at Keene University. As a BA, you can request a show, but it's not required. We do have mentors, faculty mentors who would kind of follow you. And I feel like almost every university does that as well, where there's a mentorship, some kind of mentorship towards the end. And you do develop a much more serious artist portfolio that you could then apply to MFA, future jobs, etc., etc. Just some of the things that are pretty unique to Keene. We do have a Skylands campus where we have drawing and painting days. We do New York City trips. We're so close to New York. It's a crime not to go there. I'm actually taking my class there tomorrow. So my intro to painting class is going to a number of Chelsea galleries. We do have student shows. I do encourage you, if you're looking at a fine arts program, Keene is not far from you. You can stop by to see the annual student show, which is up usually earlier in the spring, so around February. We have active student clubs. You are welcome to come to open house and kind of explore all of this. And we also do strongly encourage internships. And you can start them as soon as your freshman year. So they also vary in credit amounts. So a 3-credit internship does require more hours. And where a 1-credit internship is only like a 2 point, it's kind of like you are involved and you're figuring things out. I would say that's a good one for a college freshman who has a full load on their schedule. We do offer some scholarships. And those are examples. That's actually a scholarship recipient down there. And one of the things that, as a high school student, you might ask yourself, well, what are you going to do with an art degree? Well, actually, there's quite a lot. You don't just become an artist, you become a business, right? We have students who are working for major jewelry firms. We have, like Novell Design Studio has several of our alums in quite advanced positions. We also have some students started their own businesses. We have, and actually the Garden State Art Weekend is coming up this weekend. And we have alumni in the Manufacturers Village. We have alumni who have worked on murals there. We have, there are several who are involved with the open studios and are active artists. So, but you can also teach. We do have the certification program with our art education. So you do end up teaching in your last year full time with a stipend. And basically you get a job right out of school. We are NASAD accredited. And that means we do have fairly small class sizes. Basically, we offer a very wide variety of classes, and there's certain standard to be maintained for that. So let me exit out of that. I think that is mostly the end of my presentation. But I also wanted to, let me just share that one thing that I wanted to show everybody, and it's the National Portfolio Day. So for any student interested in submitting their portfolio, even if you're not necessarily going into just an art program, but you're considering perhaps submitting your portfolio to be considered for scholarships, or you're thinking of a design, it doesn't have to be fine art. I'm in the fine arts department, but it could be design, it could be architecture. National Portfolio Day is the place to be, is the place to go. And there are a number, and they're free, by the way. So you just need to register, bring your portfolio. There are virtual portfolio days. You can schedule, I believe now they've kind of advanced post-COVID, and really built on the virtual aspect of portfolio review. But I even went as a student, and it was incredibly valuable. You can check their schedule ahead of time. They're all over the nation. So let's say you are visiting. Here's one on May 3rd coming up virtually. You should join that one, right? Just to check it out. But they are a number of them, not in the summer. I don't know if they scheduled them yet, but there's usually one in November. See, they're not scheduled for 2025 yet, but usually in October and November is when the big ones happen around this area. There's usually one in Javits. Kane actually hosted one this year because we just joined the National Portfolio Association. And if you are so curious, you can even check out the graduate one, just to see what is expected. You can just come and just browse. It really doesn't matter. So if you're a freshman, you can go ahead and just bring a couple pieces. You don't even really need to show your portfolio. It is strongly encouraged, but it's a great way to get information. So that's the last thing I wanted to share with you. So let me just.
Thank you, Anna. I put the link for National Portfolio Day in the chat.
Great.
And Kane's been a great partner for arts people in New Jersey. We have a administrator art organization of New Jersey, and every year we have the Emerging Artists
Yes.
Showcase in the Von Ames Gallery.
Yes, I'm actually almost every year one of the judges. So
very cool. Thank you so much. We're going to switch over now to Ms. Evans. Holly, I'm going to share that slide I had created for you.
Sure, I can talk first a little and then you can share it if you want.
Let me know when.
Okay, great. So hi, everyone. I don't have slides prepared. I have everything you're going to need on one link that will take you to Pace University's Senior Showcase website. And from there, you'll be able to see examples of our graduating seniors in the commercial dance department, their headshots, resumes, reels, websites, basically your electronic portfolio, so to speak. But in the dance world, we're focused more on reels. So I want to start by just quickly saying I work at Pace University in the BFA Commercial Dance Department. I'm a full-time faculty member there. I've been with Pace for about 10 years. Before that, I danced professionally. And I want to make anyone who's listening for dance aware that there's really two sides in collegiate dance now, where we have traditional programs that are based in ballet and modern dance. And we have a new commercial dance BFA that's emerging. And that's what PACE is in New York City. We're a commercial dance department, meaning we are training our dancers more based in jazz, hip hop, and getting ready to work in the profession on Broadway and in the commercial side of the business. However, at PACE, we do have concert dancers as well who end up in both places. So just really quickly about PACE, and I want to talk about how you get your student admitted into one of these programs. We see about 600 applicants, I think, this last year, and we have 34 spots. It's very competitive to get into. Our competitor programs are Juilliard, Purchase, NYU Tisch, Point Park somewhat, Marymount Manhattan. So we're really looking at top-notch dancers who are trying to come to college for dance. And a lot of times they choose PACE because we have a commercial dance major. Now, quickly, it doesn't matter what program you're going to. This is what I wanted to share with you tonight. You have to follow the directions. So I also have a 18-year-old who's going off to college. He's in the district. He's graduating from Columbia High School. I have seen it now from both sides. I screen all of those 400 to 600 incoming freshmen at PACE, and I see all their pre-screen material. And now I have my own student who just went through the process here in my house. So I cannot say how many times people just don't read the directions. So tonight, before I hopped on here, I went and looked at some of our competitors' websites, for example, Juilliard's. And there are so many instructions on exactly how we want the pre-screen to be. PACE is very specific. Juilliard is very specific. I was just reading through their material. If you skip any of the steps in the process, we're not going to look at you because we have hundreds to choose from. So if you're going to a really competitive program, I would imagine it's the same for musical theater, for music, for art. Like, your student has to follow the instructions. I will tell you, this year, toward the end, at the deadline, we were getting a lot of applicants coming in. And my colleague and I, who screen all of them for PACE, we're starting to just text each other and saying, unless this person knocks our socks off, they're not coming to an in-person audition. We had already seen hundreds of people that we loved, right? So I'd say the second thing I tell my own high schooler here in my house is submit early. If it says the deadline is at midnight on December 31st and you submit at midnight on December 31st, I'm tired. I've already watched hundreds of videos. I don't really need to, I'm just not going to be able to give your video the same attention I gave someone who submitted in October. That's just like the human side of this. I don't know if that's helpful for anyone, but that's a little tip. And the same thing with auditioning. At a competitive program like PACE, by the time we get to that last audition, in-person audition in February, we already have our freshman class. So audition early as well. Like, at the final audition, we're only really looking at 4 people in the room because we already have all the people we need. So that's another little tip. But I was going to just give a few little things about dance specifically. So for dance, at the competitive programs, you have to submit a pre-screen to get an in-person audition. So for those pre-screens, that's the ones I'm saying you have to follow the instructions. They're very specific with what we want to see. So we at PACE, we even give you the combinations that we want you to do for ballet and for jazz. Your job is just to learn it and dance it back to us. Then you have freedom to do some other videos of your own choosing. But for those specific ones, they're way more important because they are our exact movement that we need to have for our program. And you can tell that the kids spend a lot of time on their own solo or their own favorite thing that they do, and they kind of just quickly do ours. That's a mistake. They need to, Juilliard says this, Juilliard has a demo video as well saying, this is what we want to see. They even tell you here's a list of music to choose from. Dance to one of these. Follow that instruction. Another thing that I would like to say about the videos just quickly is the camera now is happening on Instagram, that when you're videoing your friend at the beach, you come into the video and you go up. and then you go around the person and then you go back down. It's a whole TikTok, Instagram thing. So this is the first year with our audition videos at Pace that we got a lot of that. And that just isn't good for an audition video, because I need to see your whole person dancing what I need you to dance. So if your friend is doing these crazy camera angles, it doesn't help you. Also, I can't tell you how many students did not watch their video back. So they submitted something without actually watching it, because if they would have watched it, they would have realized that the audio was off, or there was a big mistake in the middle of it, and then we're saying, why wouldn't you re-record that? We can't take that person. They're not going to have, it's showing us that they don't have the level of perfection that we need for them to be successful in our department if they're submitting a video that's really half done. I had one boy this year that submitted a tap video, and he had set the camera on a tripod and he was on a marley floor, and every time he tapped and jumped, the camera jumped with him. I can't watch that video, even though he was a very proficient tap dancer. We can't take him into our department because that's like a rookie mistake he'll be eaten alive in our New York State dance scene, right? You have to have a certain amount of, I don't want to say integrity, because I'm sure that student is a lovely person, but just some smarts about how this business is going to work. Okay, so that was another thing. At Pace, we allow you to submit a wildcard video. A lot of the big schools do. Please do that. The wild card could be anything, but the kids who skip the wild card, sometimes I just need to see more of them, and they have an opportunity to submit one more thing that we're not telling them what it has to be. It could be anything. They could talk to me on the video. And the kids who skip that show me a level of, I don't want to say carelessness, but they were done and they just thought it was good enough. So they just sent it in without the wild card. I'm not going to take them. So that's another thing I'm telling my own 18-year-old who says, that scholarship application is good enough. I'm like, no, it's not, because the person reading it needs all the information. Okay. So what happens when and also the space around them. I'm sure it's the same. I think I heard James say that about the space that you're recording in. Same for dance. A lot is said about the space, right? So just making sure that it's a clean space, or it's, just looking at the video back. Okay. And then real quickly, I've watched this video. I love this student. They've checked all the boxes. But I just need to see a little bit more, because I'm between two kids, and this is just to get in the room. This is the pre-screen. I will often go to Instagram or somewhere to see if I can find more about this kid. And that's just the world we live in now. So when I say that, if your student is an advanced dancer and is looking at one of the big departments, they really should have a reel. And a reel for us is a resume, so to speak, but it's of them dancing. Their reel needs to show me all different varieties of what they can do and how proficient they are. And that should be pinned at the top of your kid's Instagram so I can find it. Often when we have that wild card, that's where people will put their reel. That's awesome. And so quickly for a reel, in case you don't know what that is, let me just quickly say, I just made a little list here. A reel would be about a minute to a minute and 30 seconds. Chances are I'm only going to watch the first 10 to 20 seconds of it. So hit me with the best thing first. I can't tell you how many videos I watched where someone started on the ground and rolled around for a while. I don't have time for that. I'm watching 400 videos. Like, show me what you got real fast. Show a variety. Make sure it's clear. Make sure you do credit the choreographers always on your reel. If you can put a little thing here, or you can say it at some point. Also, if you're dancing in a big group of people, I don't know who you are. So then every now and then I'll get a student who will submit something and they'll put an arrow and they'll circle themselves. Great. I know who you are now, and I know who to watch. And that shows me that that kid's thinking ahead. They're saying, wait, whoever's watching this might not know which one I am in here, so let me point myself out. I like that kid. That works for me, right? So thinking of that, you can add in photos. Make sure you have your contact information. Make sure your videos are high quality. Make sure your music doesn't have cursing in it. I know it's like a new world out there, but the people watching it, I don't want to hear a bunch of profanity in your music that you're submitting to us. And that is basically it. And if you're lucky enough to get through the pre-screen and you get in the room, then that's a whole nother set of audition skills. And I guess I'll just quickly tell you for dance, you have to know the program you're going to. You have to know if it's ballet based, if it's modern based, if it's commercial based. You have to know you dress appropriately for what it's like. If you went into audition for a Bob Fosse musical, you wouldn't come in looking like you're auditioning for Oklahoma. You would dress differently, right? So there's that. Follow the directions in the room, listen to everyone around you. And I don't know if that's at all helpful, but I think these are things that I saw this year through our audition tour that really just struck me as, wow, I can't believe that they're not listening right now or following directions. Like, you finally got your ticket, you're in the room, you're in the big leagues, you're in New York City, you're competing for 34 spots in this top program, and you're just not listening when your name is called or your number's called or something like that. So again, I'm talking to parents, but I'm hoping that you would tell your students some of these tips. Two more quick things. I like to say that Twyla Tharp always said that was a famous choreographer. She's still living, absolute master of our time in choreography. And she would always say, I could tell who I'm going to hire by the way they walk in the room and sit down their dance bag. So I can't tell you how true that is. We can tell who's confident from the moment they walk in, how they carry themselves. I have been in the bathroom and have heard kids complaining in the stall beside me. They don't know I'm in there. You are auditioning from the moment you arrive on the block. In fact, you're auditioning on the subway ride there because you don't know who in the subway car is coming to the audition and might be the person behind the table. So I just think these are little tips that are fun. If anyone has any questions about PACE, please let me know. And everything you need to see, if you want to see examples of headshots, resumes, reels, websites, I have 34 of our graduating seniors that have been working for the last 4 years to put together their senior showcase. So you can see all of that on our PACE website that I know maybe you could put in the chat for the participants, the attendees. And thank you for letting me talk to you about dance for a few minutes.
Thank you so much, Holly. Really appreciate that. Yeah, we hear this resonating. Be very conscientious of what is specific to each university. That's a very important point for everyone. And Professor Liboff, you're here to close our show tonight. Thank you so much, Howard. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, no pressure. So what I'll discuss is what we asked for at Fairleigh Dickinson University, but I'm going to try to make it general. I think it's something you probably will find will work for any film program. When we look for applicants, it's difficult in film because we don't expect someone applying for college to be an accomplished filmmaker yet. We're happy to look at films, of course, short films, but I'd say in terms of visual reels, the key word is short. We usually advise our students to send no more than 5 minutes of edited material or to submit 5 to 10 pages max of a screenplay or just an essay on why they're motivated to enter the film world. It's probably much more important to me to get a sense of your curiosity about the world than it is to see that you've made a masterpiece on film. Again, I don't expect that. Some of the best students we've had made really beautiful films as seniors, and I remember one in particular who made a very nice film when he was a senior, and he had handed me a DVD back in the day, you know, DVDs, to watch a film he'd made in high school. And after he'd been with us for some time, I went home and watched it, and I told him the next time I saw him, I had no idea what was happening in that video. So you don't have to already be accomplished when you're a high school junior or senior. A couple of the films that I've seen that really made an impression on me, one was called A Walk in the Snow by a young man, and what it was a point of view as he took a walk in the snow for like 3 or 4 minutes. There wasn't a single edit in it. It was mesmerizing. I felt like I was in a Zen movie. There was something moody about it that just worked beautifully. And I'd say a common mistake in visual reels for filmmakers is to think that I want to watch a music video. Music video is not interesting to me at all. I'd much rather see a dramatic scene. And here, if you don't mind, I'll show you a minute of a film that's going to premiere in a couple of nights. And it's almost finished, but we'll just watch a minute just to show you that the kind of material I'd rather see than than a music video. And James, I think I can share here, but I just select screen. Is that right? Because I'm going to do a web page. Oh, let's see. Yeah, okay, there we go. Is that working? Everyone see that? Is that a yes?
That's a yes, Howard.
Okay, so we're just going to watch this opening scene. I hope the sound plays as oh, here we go. So just to give you a sense, am I back? Not that not that I'm the preferred image, but just to give you a sense, I'd much rather dive into a drama for a minute than be than looking at a minute of quick cuts over music. I just think that's not very challenging. The other thing I'd say about both Walk in the Snow and Anything You Want that you just saw is they're both by, in this case, young men who don't fit any predetermined profile. I always tell students you don't have to have a certain personality to be a filmmaker. You can be quiet. Both young men in this case are very quiet. You just don't have to live up to any predetermined idea of what a filmmaker is. The main thing I want to know is, are you curious? Tell me what films you've seen, what kinds of films you like. Give me a specific example of a film that meant something to you, that moved you. Why did you decide you want to work in film? What is it that moved you? You know, I've met people who say when they come in, they want to work and study film, but over a period of time, you learn they don't like anything. That makes no sense to me. If you want to be a writer, or I know in Holly's case, a dancer, probably you've witnessed something or you've been doing something all your life. Sometimes you can't even explain it, but it means something to you. It moves you. That's what I want to know. What is it that you care about, that you love? What changed your life? Um, More important than just seeing, this week's top blockbuster, go to film festivals, go to revivals. Again, dive into, it's not so much that you need to become a historian, it's that I think there should be a level of curiosity that has led you to understand how film has changed and moved over the years, or even how similar things have been handled over the years. So again, it's that sense of curiosity that I want to see. If you decide to submit a script, it's absolutely vital that the script be in proper format. So I want to show you one of those. So let's see. I don't want to see that. I want to see, how do I find my PDF? Oh, I see. Okay. Nope. Window. Oh, it's not letting me do that. I can send this out as a reference. But my point is that I get a lot of screenplays that are not screenplays, right? They don't look like a screenplay. They don't act like a screenplay. And like Holly said, there are certain videos that she won't watch. I won't read it. And no one in the profession would read it because it just doesn't show a level of understanding of what that format requires. It's not difficult, but it takes a little practice, and I could send the how-to to James after this, and he can share it with you. Let me just go back to one thing, which is really my notes. So I really said most things that I wanted to get to. Keep you real short. Don't send me music videos. Make sure the format is correct, and above all, make sure that your own sense of curiosity and why you think filmmaking is for you on a personal level is apparent.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Anna. Had to jump off. She's not feeling well. Thank you so much for your time. And if anyone has any questions, you can send them to me in an email and I'll share that with the professors. Otherwise, again, thank you for your time, your expertise. I really appreciate this. It was incredibly informative for me and I'm sure for the community. And we'll roll this video again, have it available to everyone for prosperity. Thanks so much. Have a great evening, everyone. Appreciate your time. Bye now.